Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Dun-na, 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 dun-na.
Oh no, Jimmy!
Damn it, Amit!
Damn it, Amit!
What did he try to do that so that he could that would win the tournament?
Oh my
Damn
God!
it, Amit! He's even home. He's here.
I know.
Could he be doing right now?
If we
That's
keep
okay.
these wins up, Credit Cake might win the tournament. If Amit keeps screwing up, damn it, Amit could win this tournament. We're a lot of people are trying to affect, their favorite in here. Noah out here, straight up lobbying as is her.
That's how votes happen.
She's
as
trying
is her
to
way.
take down number one.
As is her way. We're supposed to be impartial here. We're not lobbying.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
I actually
Okay.
think You're Muted could make a run. I tweeted that. You're Muted could make a run because, I'm
Did
sure
people
we'll say
agree
it
with you?
tonight. Well, nobody really ever talks to me on Twitter, so I'm not really sure if people agree or not.
Yeah.
I just kind of yell into the abyss, Noah. I don't get the interactions like you get.
How about
Somebody
is
reply to
Cornet? Is
I need like a
Cornet
Noah
20
boost.
million? Is Cornet 20 million in the tournament?
It is. It'll get there. It'll get there eventually. Toothpaste Sandwich was a late riser, but it was such a fun show. But it was like a bottle episode. It really only lived in that
Exactly.
one show.
I don't think it should actually be a 1 seed, to be honest.
I know, but I didn't have I didn't have
time.
time for you guys to judge the seeds because you barely gave me any input at all.
I gave you
just had to
4.
put them out there. It was really bad. So
I didn't know what
that's
this
where we're
was
at.
until after.
Celtics
Noah.
defeat the Portland Trailblazers in a game where a bunch of people sit. And are we having fun yet? We love these games, right, Noah? We love it when starters sit.
I actually
You
We love
should have
it.
seen you
game.
watching this game. This
I
is the time of
loved
my
it.
life.
I'm a little bummed Shireman didn't get more run in the second half. That's my only complaint.
We saw
Also,
enough.
if you're gonna give JD Davison first quarter minutes, I want him to get minutes
Yeah,
later too,
That was
because
a
again,
tease.
it's fun to watch.
Joe's still
especially-
leaning more toward winning these games and trying stuff, but he's
He
getting
can't
both
help.
in.
Yeah, little of each, but that's fine. I mean, they still beat a professional basketball team here, down 3 starters, and it's great. So we'll talk about tonight's game. We'll talk about what's going on with the rest of the team. Jaylen Brown out. We know that, kind of in cruise control mode here as they're winding down the stretch with what I believe 11 games left after this one, and that's going to wrap it up. Any remaining thoughts on the owners? We might kick it to that as well, but we covered that.
I want to hear Jimmy on that. Yeah.
I think at length the last couple of times. Before we get started, tell you real quick, tonight's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Sorry, I was trying to respond to a tweet here, a text here.
Must be
Promo
nice.
code CLNS for new users. Play 5, get 50 instantly into your account when you play. Prize Picks, run your game. It's that easy, more or less. It's all you have to do. Get in on the action now. And also Game Time. You want to get into any games? You want to travel out west? Check out the Celtics. Go for it.
Red Sox starts
it's not-
this week, right?
Red Sox starting up. Breaking news: Christian Campbell made the roster for those of you who partake here. So you're going to get the rookie in there, possibly starting opening day at second base for the Red Sox, which is exciting
Wow.
for
I
a
just
lot of
bought
people
a couple
here.
tickets. Game time.
Did
the
you?
second game of the year. Yep.
Attaboy.
Sox Cardinals.
There it is
Second
right
game
there.
of the year.
Code
Everyone-
CLNS,
Yeah, opening-
$20
opening
off
day is
your
so
first
expensive.
purchase. Terms do apply. And of course, we've got the bracket. We are hot. We are live with the bracket right now. We've got
Wow.
two matchups right now. I believe #1 right now is going on in the
1-8.
in the poll. It's a 1-8 matchup. Toothpaste Sandwich versus Credit Cake. Jimmy thinks Toothpaste Sandwich was a soft #1 seed. Credit Cake was given up a fight on the Twitter poll here. We'll see what happens here. You've got about 35 minutes to vote here on this one. So put it in. And then the next one is going to be You're Muted versus Toast Brain, a 4-5 matchup. This is coming out of the third center region. So
There's certain
take it
stuff
all
I
in.
just don't remember.
Yeah.
Toast brain.
I don't know if you were on
Is it-
that show, Bobby. You might not have been on
Toast
that.
Brain
Yeah.
was another one-off. Jimmy just didn't understand. Toast Brain is this year's hot guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, where Jimmy just doesn't hear things correctly.
Well,
but
it could be that you don't say things correctly too.
when we're talking about
very fast.
when we're talking about, you have to understand context. When we're talking about Marvel movies, and I say Hawkeye, you just got to understand. I mean Hawkeye, not hot guy, because it's we're having
I'm not a
Marvel
Marvel guy.
conversation.
I'm not in the Marvel world. Like
That's
some
not my
people are.
fault. Yeah.
You said Pritchard was hot guy, and so my brain went to okay, he's a good looking guy.
Is Hawkeye in here? Hawkeye was a good one.
That was last
Yeah,
year.
that was last year.
Yeah.
Anyway, Celtics play tonight without Jaylen Brown dealing with that knee injury. He'll be evaluated on Monday. Drew Holiday, the shoulder, is that real or fake? That thing that was bugging him earlier in the year. I hope that's not a thing that's coming back to go with his mallet finger. And Kristaps Porzingis, nothing to fear here. It's just illness, recovery, recuperation, or whatever they put it on there. So what you end up happening. What you have here is a fun game where everybody else gets to play, and it was a lot of fun here. So we'll kind of go around the horn, a little bit of something from everybody. There's really no one thing that pops. I mean, you've got Hauser goes off, Al was good, White was good, Tatum had a monster third quarter. But I'll just go around the horn with you guys. What stood out, Bobby?
I thought they were going to lose this game. And then I especially thought they were going to lose when Pritchard picked up 3 fouls in 4 minutes there. And yeah, you just have very little left at guard at that point. And you mentioned the JD minutes, John. I think those were a nice early touch and what became a overall great game for the depth players across the board here. Hauser, who I mentioned last game, I didn't think we showed enough love last game, is just getting scorching hot here. And I thought it was one of the biggest stories of this game, probably one of the bigger stories going into the playoffs, because I've said he's the X factor for this team. Like when he's going at this level, that's when they're unstoppable, and Christmas is canceled and everyone else is screwed. Like that's going to be the cherry on top of them doing what they did last year if he's able to get going at this level. And he's been rolling like this for a little while, back to that Jazz game with the 33 points there. So that was probably the most exciting thing for me out of this one, is him keeping that rolling. I want to see him keep staying healthy over the last couple of weeks here, and then into the playoffs. Whatever talk of this guy superseding him and that guy superseding, I think Hauser's still essential to this team, this year and beyond. Like he's just the floor spacer for them. And sometimes things get jammed up out there. He's the guy who can open things up a little bit. And I thought it was interesting in this game too, for the second straight night, that they try to play smaller rather than bigger. No Kata here tonight. So this was a good win against a team that I underrated a little bit, since that last time I came out to Boston. They've been playing really well recently.
I'll go. This was a borderline hard hat win. I thought about tossing it on. I just think ultimately the Blazers aren't as good of a team as I want them to be. I know they're playing better, and Chauncey Billups might have saved his job. I think with the way things have gone recently, I think he was a surefire fired coach like through the first half of this season. Maybe not so much anymore. Loved what I saw from some of the guys that don't tip. Like Hauser's shot falling is just such a pretty thing. Like when those 3-pointers are going down, it like gives me Steph Curry vibes. I'll say it. It gives me Steph Curry vibes when the Hauser 3 is starting to fall. He just had a couple ridiculous ones tonight that they just look cool, So when that starts to happen, like the game starts to get kind of funny. And
did you say Steph Curry's thighs?
I did, yeah, his thighs.
Yeah.
If you look at the thigh to thigh comparison, John, you'll see exactly what I mean.
All right, I got it.
Yeah. It got kind of fun to watch in the second half there when some of those shots are going down. And I got to also shout out my guy, John Love, who sends me messages sometimes about, Celtic stuff. Big fan of the show. He said we might have to do an apology game for Luke, which I will not do because I don't think we were ever wrong about Luke. But to his point, Luke is luking very hard right now. Luke is like beyond third center status. I'm not sure what's going on. He's barking up and down the court. Like, I think Luke is having a moment, and I think we all just need to like give him his flowers and just like let Luke do.
I'll let you guys say it tonight. I'm not saying a word.
Good. Then no one will say anything. It's like a good Jaylen Brown game. If you guys don't do it, I'm not doing it. Noah, your takeaways.
I don't even know where to start with this one. This was the game of the year for me. There's so much to talk. There's so much to talk about. Have I really?
JD and Baylor, and it's like all the main guys. It's great.
It was a good game.
So first of all, I think it is kind of a big deal that JD got an opportunity. I thought he was going to get like a real opportunity tonight. He got like 25 minutes, and I don't know why he can't because it's like
he's
missing
just
G
get
League
ready
games
for the
to be
main
here.
playoffs. Can't use him too much.
No, I don't get it. So, but I thought that he looked comfortable, and he has been so good in the G League. And I know that there's an outstanding question whether the G League matters. So you'll love my 3,000 word G League story coming out this week, John. But I think in general, you saw him look more comfortable than I thought he's looked this year or last year. And part of that is just like he's the MVP of the G League right now. So you would hope that that confidence would trickle over a little bit to playing in the NBA. And he had some good moments early on. I think Baylor Shireman looks phenomenal. Like I really do.
Phenomenal.
He didn't do like a ton tonight. What did he finish with? 6 points, 5 rebounds,
But he
3
looked
assists.
comfortable.
He looks really good, and he doesn't look like a rookie anymore. And it's all the difference of just making a couple shots. Like he just couldn't hit the rim, and when he first started the season, during preseason, he couldn't find anything. He was airballing things, and he has a couple good shooting performances, and it kind of activates the rest of your game. So those two guys that were not even in Boston a few months ago, thought that they gave them some good minutes early on. And obviously, the story in this one is not them, but I just thought that was cool to see. And then Jason Tatum just, to me, looks like he's just figured out basketball in a way where he just is operating on a different level. And it doesn't mean that he's always playing great. Like he shot 11 of 24 tonight. He wasn't super efficient. He was 1 of 7 from 3. But you can just feel that when they need a bucket, he can get one. When he wants to involve a particular player, he's able to do that. Like it just feels like he's playing at a different level than everybody else on the floor. And I've continued to think that this season. I feel like this is one of those games where it's just a quiet 30-point, 9-assist night. Obviously a big third quarter, but just overall, it just felt like another night for him. And when you look at the stat sheet, it's like he almost had a triple-double with 30 points.
Yeah, I want to double down on that Tatum thing because it really
I'll
is
triple down.
Okay, you double down, I'll triple down. I don't care.
Well, no, I already. You can go.
I don't need to. I'm gonna get interrupted here anyway.
Oh boy, here. Yeah, you are gonna get interrupted.
Yeah.
Is that jealous?
Yeah, that's jealous.
I knew it.
Say that's jealous, honey.
No.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so to
go ahead,
piggyback
go
on
ahead.
what Noah said,
I knew that was coming, so it's easier if you just.
I have felt this way about Jason Tatum for a few months. It just feels like, and I've said this on the show, it feels like he has the other team on a string sometimes. Like he baits them into exactly what he wants them to do. They do it, and then he'll either make the pass, he'll go into like bully ball mode, he'll, again, I agree that the shot is still off at times, and that's probably the last thing to come, that outside shot. But I do feel like he gives the game what it needs more than he ever has. So there are going to be games where it doesn't feel like he lit it up offensively, but the assists jump up like crazy, or the rebounding, the defense. Like I feel like he definitely has that all around game. Like he's not LeBron. He's not ever going to be LeBron. Nobody is. But I feel like if you start trying to compare his game to LeBron,
I think how he approaches the game, though.
Now more than ever, though, Bobby. And I think we've been clamoring for it for the last few seasons, and it feels like finally. And John's gonna get on his high horse and say this is what he's been looking for from Tatum, and he's right, because
it's not a high horse. It
is a high horse. Here you go. Hop on.
Look, it's not that. It's every Celtics fan projects forward or grabs the best of what they see in snapshots and says that's who the person is. It's like the golf game analogy. One day you shoot a 79, but you're shooting 90s most of the time. That's who you are. It's not the 79. Like Tatum would show flashes of playmaking, times where the game was moving slowly for him, times where he was in control, but he would have so many other times where it looked like he was trying really hard, or he was fighting it or trying to find it. Like, this is the evolution. Like, this is where you want him to get to. And I actually still think there's further to go. And that's the best thing about it. But he's now getting there. And that's where everybody thought he was a couple of years ago, or even last year. And it's not. It's been steady evolution over time. But I do like what Noah said there. It does look, I use this analogy all the time, but you guys seen The Matrix, or is that too old a movie for you kids?
I have seen it.
Oh, we've seen it.
When Keanu finally figures it out and everything starts moving slowly and the guy's throwing punches at him and he's like right. That's what it's like. It's also like that for like the quarterback position in football. The guys who have it, everything is like, okay, that guy's there and that guy's there and that guy's covered. I'm going to go over here and boom. And they do it in 2.4 seconds. But people who aren't good at it, it's going like this, like Tatum, everything is so slowed down for him. I think he's in complete control of everything. So wherever he goes on the floor, he's got 5 outs. It's not just kind of driving blindly into the paint and hoping or, foul hunting or just seeing what happens. He's got a plan and he's got it totally in control. And
he knows the coverage, John. That's the biggest thing. He knows how they're guarding.
He's got it all. It's the reads. It's the reads. So yeah, I agree with that on the Tatum front. 100% there. The other thing Noah was talking about, and I'll put it to you guys, it's really hard in these small snapshots of the players. Davison has only played garbage time minutes, so you can't really gauge how he looks against true NBA competition. Shireman, recently we've seen a couple of stints here, but really not much earlier in the year. So little to go by. And I'll throw Jordan Walsh in there too. I don't think it's crazy to say that Davison in his 8 minutes tonight looked more relaxed than Jordan Walsh has looked most of his time that he's been on the court this year. And I would say that Shireman looks way more comfortable right now than Walsh has ever looked in an NBA game. Doesn't mean Walsh hasn't had a couple of moments where he's played well. It just he looks sped up. He looks out of sorts. He doesn't look like he's able to kind of jive with the speed of the game. And Shireman now he's not overwhelmed. He's not playing catch up. He looks like he's moving even better, like laterally on the defensive end. He's more competitive, but he's just got confidence with the ball and on the floor and what he wants to do. It just was the shot wasn't falling, but I think he looks very comfortable out there, much more so than, Walsh now, who, you've been trying to sneak minutes in there. If you're just to compare with guys who we've seen flashes of, but not really seen enough of to really make a judgment. So I don't think it's an overreaction. That's what you're gauging. Does he seem to get it? And he seems to get it, and he seems to fit, and he seems comfortable. And that's why, Bobby, I think the overreaction, because you're seeing it early with such limited opportunity and minutes. That's like, wow, this guy looks like an NBA player right now, which is impressive.
And I don't think they're just rolling him out there trying to see what's he got. We're not trying anything anymore here. We're resting everybody. Just let this guy have some run here. I think they're trying to use him within the flow of the regular players. He started the third quarter, which ended up being more of a strategic decision than an injury thing with Pritchard. I think when he came out of the locker room and started there, and Pritchard comes in 6 minutes later, it's like, what's going on with Pritchard? But I think they want him out there with the normal players. And that was the stretch among all of them this season that we've seen that made me most excited with him, because that's what you saw him do in college. That's what you drafted him to do. And that's where I thought he looked at his best in the preseason, and the real opportunities we saw from him early, summer league, where he has the ball in his hands. He's running sets. He's able to initiate some transition looks. And I think people do misunderstand his game a little bit. He's not Hauser. He's a point guard almost, the way he handles the ball. He creates his own shot. He's a guy who gets others going, and for them to get him into some drive and kick stuff out there,
he's got that classic
was really exciting
ball
to me.
Giddy up when he gets the ball in transition, right? You hit him, rebound, and it goes into his hands, and he's like, "Let's go! I'm looking for guys." Like he's kind of
and I love that on a team that doesn't run much. Yeah. So
and he's like, "Let's get up and go. Who's with me?" And he's looking to kind of make things happen. I love that.
As much as I love him, I really want to hold back on the hype train though, because it's just so early.
Where's the fun in that?
This is where you'll draw the line on the hype train, Bobby. This is it.
I have questions about his ability to impact them in a bigger spot here. So I don't want to go too far. I think this is a good foundation going into next year. But in terms of could he play in the playoffs, stuff like that, I think it's still just way too early.
Okay, that's our show. We're not allowed to talk about Baylor anymore. That's it for the Baylor hype for the show. Moving on.
No, I mean, what does it mean, John? That's what we're trying to figure out. Is it just a few blips? This year. Is it the start of something?
It means nothing for this year because it's too far along to be able to commit any legitimate minutes to someone like that, unless, of course, you're suffering an injury and you're just going to kind of next man up it, in which case I actually do think if you were put it this way, if they were playing for games that mattered and Brown was legitimately out for the next 10 games and they were playing, to try to get a seeding or get into the playoffs, I think Shireman's solidly in your rotation now. It's not experimental,
Definitely.
and it's not only playing down 3 guys. I actually think he's getting minutes. So if that were the case, fine. You get into the playoffs, you're going down to 8, 9 guys. He's not going to see the court, and that's fine. You're really talking about next year, where I don't want to have the depressing conversation that nobody wants to have, but you're going to make hard cuts and you're going to have to keep cheap players, which means he's going to probably have a prominent role next year in a top 8 slot on this team, realistically speaking. So seeing flashes from him now makes you feel a whole lot better about difficult decisions coming down the road. I think that's what it means. If it means something, it's that. And also, fans just get excited and you're quick to overreact. So yeah, you'd love to think that you caught lightning in a bottle and you got this guy who's going to come out of nowhere and make an incredible contribution down the stretch and into the playoffs. You know, and again, it's that whole found money thing. So yeah, you get geeked up about it because, well, what if? But I just don't think that's realistic.
What annoys me, and I know you saw it too, Noah, is the replace Hauser stuff. It's not happening.
Well, I think first of all, they're 2 completely different players. They really are. It's just like I get it. Like they're both like white guys that come off the bench and shoot threes. So I get like if you're really not paying close attention, then I get where the parallel comes from. But they're really not similar.
They're not at all.
At all, right? So that's the first thing. I think the second part of it is just, you know, we're talking about Jordan Walsh and we're talking about, you know, JD Davison and all that.
They're not similar, no, but they play the same position. So therefore, you would just have a different style of player in those minutes, but you're not, they're not the same guy.
And he can spread the floor like Hauser can. So, you know, if you, from a spacing concern, like you have that. He's not going to be as good of a shooter than Hauser as Hauser right now, at least. But I think talking about Jordan just turned 21, you know, how he has yet to show, I think that he, in extended stretches, is like really ready for a larger role in the NBA. And Shireman is 3.5 years older than him, and you can tell when he's playing. But I'm still impressed by the fact that he really hasn't been in Boston very long. It's been like 5 or 6 weeks of him full-time in Boston. And when he's checking into these games, I feel like he's kind of running the show a little bit. Like he's playing at his own pace. He's not getting sped up. And again, it's not like, I know I'm fine with that being a knock on me, that I'm running with a small sample and kind of getting excited about people. But I really didn't say much about him because I don't watch a lot of college basketball, so I didn't know a ton about him from Creighton. And then watching him in the G League, I got really excited about what I saw because I do watch a lot of G League basketball, and it's hard to see guys be really impressive on all fronts. You see guys go like for scoring performances or certain things, but it's hard to see really good all around basketball. But again, it's just the G League, right? And then now he's been here for 5 weeks, and I feel like every time he checks into the game, he's been better than all of these other guys that have played spot minutes over the last couple seasons. There's been a bunch of them that have cycled through, and nobody's stuck. And it's not a big deal.
I'm still a Cada guy. I'm still holding out hope.
I'm not talking about Cada. I'm talking about guys that have played around the perimeter, like those guys that have been in that position. You know, whether it's O'Shea Brissett or Delano Banton, or it's Springer, who obviously I really like, but has very clear limitations. I think Baylor seems more ready with a very small sample. Again, like he just got drafted to the NBA this year. He was in Maine for the first half of the season. So that's where the encouragement comes from. It's not just like, oh, he looked good in the game today. It's just the whole context around what he's able to do. I think it's so hard for guys to be able to come in a brand new system and look good. And that's why they usually don't. And JD, you know, it's his 3rd year. So I think he deserves that opportunity to see if he can do it or not. Jordan's gotten some chances, and I think he has shown that he needs a little bit more time, though there's certain things that he does well. But Baylor, I think, he separated himself a little bit from these other guys that have gotten an opportunity. It doesn't mean that he's going to for sure be a great NBA player, but it means that there's a lot of factors that I think point in the direction that he's going to make it, and he's going to be able to contribute at a high level on a good team.
And you made a good point, you know, Jimmy, I'll throw it to you, but him coming in at 24, whatever it is.
Super chat, Damon. Sorry, Bobby, just want to say thanks. It's not really a question, but I want to say on the comment, you've seen the Joe Ingles thing thrown around quite a bit, but I think that's just kind of white and lefty that people do. And again, you know, it's, you know, Shireman again has his own vibe to his game, just the way that he plays. I honestly think the best Shireman comp that somebody was spamming the chat with in the early going was like, you know, poor man's Luka. And only because he's nifty and he's got
poor man's Luka.
Yeah, I said it. That's what
You said it?
Because not me. It was in the chat.
It was
and I
John.
like, I see what people are saying there because he can pass. He's got good vision. He's not afraid to kind of get out and get after it.
I might have to be a T-shirt, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Poor man's
Exactly.
Luca with Shireman's number on the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not there
No,
yet,
but I was
John. We'll see.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say, it
everyone
makes
knows
sense.
what poor man means, right? Like dime store, it means like a fraction of.
I
Like,
know
you
what it
understand
means.
It's not a comparison. Okay,
I
yeah.
still,
It was
I'm
Derek,
maybe
it's
broke
Derek.
man's.
You know how much I love hyperbole, and I'm just like, ooh. But it makes sense now because this is the first round
Hyperbole
pick.
would
We said
say
it so
he's
many
Luca.
times.
Yeah.
So John thinks he's
This is the
Luka.
first.
Okay,
This is the
got it.
first round pick, Jimmy,
But
and,
just
and
less
this is the
rich.
first guy you look at that has real promise here. And to me, you're usually looking at older guys
I
who
didn't
contribute
say
right
it.
away.
No,
But the fact that he
flip
didn't
it.
doesn't prohibit him from having a good career going forward. And they didn't really need him this year either, which is fine too. So Walsh was a flyer, right? Second round flyer, 19 years old. Davison, late second round flyer, 19 years old. Cada even, a flyer for the Kings. So those guys didn't have real hope to impact things right away or even ever. You were hoping that those guys would walk on the floor and that would be a success. For Shireman, even at 30, which is like borderline second round, he was a guy who was ranked around like 20, 25. So like a little bit higher in that first round. The expectation is that he'll do something, Jimmy. And I was a little disappointed this year that it took so long. But if it takes this long and next year is where you get the trade, the benefit there, it's an important pick that'll hit if he's in the rotation next year. And every pick going forward now is going to be important, as John said, for how expensive this team is and for how many guys are going to start heading out the door here. So this actually is a very important player into the future and a guy that you have real stakes in. Even the contract, a rookie contract's a real thing.
It's all important. And Bobby, this is why I was like going nuts over the Romeo and the Neesmith thing. It was less about the player and more about the asset. You have to develop those players because you need cheap players on your roster so you can bring them up. So you can, when you have some turnover, you have people coming up behind them.
The fact that you can do it in May now to know his point is pretty cool.
They were just the wrong guys, but you don't you don't send lottery picks to Maine very often. That's kind of the point. Those guys you have to develop here. Like that's how it works. And so they didn't, because the problem is when you're drafted, most teams as good as the Celtics don't get lottery picks. So you're drafted into this position unless you're number 3 overall picks like Tatum and Brown. You're not going to find minutes early in your career. It's a struggle. So it's just a reality. Where are these guys going to play? It's hard to play them, but it also, especially that lost year that we were freaking out, not seeing what you had in those guys, I still stand by it, is criminal, even though Romeo's out of the league and obviously wasn't.
Come on, John, give it up.
You still find a way to slide him into these shows, though, man.
But that's the point. You were just supposed to determine if you had something in Romeo and Neesmith. You punted on both. Romeo ended up washing out. Neesmith ended up being a valuable pro. That would have helped you if you had a Neesmith caliber player on this team, but you didn't do it. The point is you got to find out, not that they were good and deserved minutes. It's, I don't know if they're good. Let's force the minutes and see what we've got. And they didn't do that. And that's where they're at. And you've got Shireman, who's a rookie, and he's 24. And if you go 2 and 3 years without giving him real minutes, he's going to be 27 years old. You have to decide if you're going to sign him again. You'll have done nothing. So you have to find ways to see if you have something in these guys, or else you're just going to give them a roster spot, shrug your shoulders, and say like, I hope they're okay. It's not a good way to go about it. I understand why they're doing it, but it hurts you. It hurt them with those guys. Anyway, we'll keep going on this game. We want to quickly tell you about a couple of our sponsors here on the Garden Report. And of course, we're going to start with our friends over at Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. 2 or more players. You can cross sports and win up to 1,000 times your money. So definitely check it out. Super easy to use. Great time to get involved now. You've got basketball action, both pro and college. The tournament is underway. Promo code CLNS. New users, $5. Once you play 5, you get 50 instantly in your account. As you see it here, more or less. That's it. Any stat, any sport, any athlete. Prize Picks. Run your game. Download that app. Play 5, get 50 instantly when you use the code CLNS. Once again, play 5, get 50 instantly. Code CLNS. Back to the conversation here. And again, I'll let us continue on Shireman if that's what we want to do here, because I am curious. Noah, do you agree that there's no path to minutes beyond whatever happens here in garbage time. Like you can't like, even if he were to impress us and start to really look even more comfortable than he's looked over the last 6, 7, 8, 10 games here, there's no way he can sneak out playoff minutes.
I'd be pretty surprised if it happened, if everybody's healthy. But it wouldn't be like the most stunning thing. But yeah, I think I don't really see the clear pathway unless somebody gets hurt. And obviously Jalen's the one that I've been monitoring with his knee thing, but I don't think we have any reason to think right now he's going to miss time in the playoffs. If he was, then I actually would expect Shireman to potentially see the floor. I think the same way that NBA teams, the same way that he doesn't have NBA experience, teams also don't really know what to expect from him the same way they do with Sam. So there might be a little bit of an advantage in that regard, like as far as just playing some minutes and people aren't quite as familiar with him. But at this point, you're telling me in the next 2 months, like if he's going to get any minutes, I would be some things had to go wrong health wise.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to whether you want to keep playing big or small. Like that's.
Well, what do you think now? We had this whole like the double big was working well.
Better than Luka.
We had the whole double big was working well, and now it's like, well, single big has been great. Where are we on this?
I was surprised they went single big tonight. No, I guess it was to let Pritchard start at home, but they've been married to double big, and it feels like they're trying something out.
What you asked Joe about the double big, and then he was like, yeah, and then he was like, well, actually, when we stopped doing that is when it opened up the game.
Yeah, so I don't know if he had an epiphany there or something, Noah, but they haven't been a small ball team all year, and now they're really trying it.
My understanding right now is that he's just trying a bunch of different things to just kind of gather as much information as he can. And obviously with Porzingis being out, like it opens the door on it a little bit more. But I think he's just like, people were asking where Jordan Walsh was today. He's kind of alternating guys. Like Jordan's not completely out of the mix as far as garbage time minutes. Like he has had some opportunities. Baylor's had some opportunities. Nemi didn't really play. Nemi didn't play at all today, right? Like I think he's just kind of cycling through, especially knowing it's a back-to-back. I would expect Jordan to get like 12 minutes tomorrow. He's just going to
It's a very preseason vibe. Like tomorrow will be a Keita Walsh game.
Yeah.
That's why I really struggle. Like, does he see Shireman as gaining steam here, gaining momentum? Maybe there's a way they can get him involved in a spot down the stretch here, or is it just we haven't seen Shireman all year, so let's really see what he has?
I think that they want to get him involved. I mean, again, if the Celtics are healthy, we're not seeing Shireman. But in the opportunities that come right now, and I think you're going to see a lot more going into the playoffs because the Celtics are going to pretty much stay in this 2 seed. You're going to see Shireman get more opportunities, and give him credit because he's taking advantage of them more than anybody else really has. And I think, yeah, on one side, Joe wants to give everybody a little bit of a chance and, whatever. But I think also he's taking serious note of the players that look like they belong. And I think early on here, the last few games, Shireman looks like a guy that has a future with the Celtics team in the NBA. And it is hit or miss when you get to like the, late first round. I mean, you can go down every single year. You can look at a bunch of players that never amount to anything in the NBA. And Shireman looks like somebody that will have some effect. I mean, he's already their best rookie, quote unquote, since Pritchard, right? So right off the bat, you can see, and we know through what you guys have seen up in the G League that the guy works extremely hard. So again, similar to Pritchard.
Top 3 of all time.
Top 3 all time to some people in terms of how hard they work. So you just know.
Not how hard they work. What percent of time on the floor they are playing 100%?
Okay, my brain can't really even comprehend what that means, but what she said, definitely what she said. And so I think and the other thing is this, and it might just be this simple. He hits shots and Walsh doesn't.
That's a separator.
Half the guys that, I shouldn't even say half. Most of the guys in this Stay Ready crew don't hit shots. So Shireman already is above and beyond what these guys can do. And if you can go out there, stretch the floor, hit shots, there's why the comparisons are coming with Hauser and whoever, because that's what a guy like Hauser does. So, if Shireman can run the floor, stretch it, and hit a few shots during his time out there, then he's going to earn those minutes over anybody else in that group that he's in. Plus, he works hard.
Really hard.
Facts.
Like all the time when he's out there. Only when he's out there.
Good, you're getting it.
When he's not out there, he's like
I'm saying that
lazy.
I don't like speculating about who the hardest workers off the floor are because I don't really know. Like
Yeah,
you can
I mean,
make
he like
you can
plays video games.
you can get
probably.
like, okay, like Pritchard has a good rep, but like I'm not there, you know? Like you're just speculating at that point.
I got it.
That's
No. So what you're saying is that you probably think that Shireman is like probably the opposite off the court. Like he's probably like a
I don't
lazy guy
know.
off the
I
court.
haven't gotten
Yeah.
a chance to look into it.
So you
There
think he's kind of lazy? Okay, that's fine.
There was a play tonight. I've never really seen anything like it where he tried to take a charge and he fell to the ground and then he literally just leapt right up into a rebound. I haven't seen those two things go back to back so quickly
Right.
than I had there. So yeah, there's a lot to love here. The
Ever?
skill set's great. I've never seen a guy go from taking a charge right into a rebound. I'll have to find
I remember
one,
the play.
but-
It stood out to me too.
The only thing is the defense, and you did see it again tonight. Teams are going to go after him. Teams are going to try to make a move. He fouled a bit. So those are the things. Like the skill set's so great here, but he did fall to 30, probably due to some combination of the defense, athleticism, and the age. So all three of those things are things to watch, in terms of upside, in terms of being able to play consistently, and whether he makes it to this level. Because 5 years of college, went from like a low D1 to a high
It's the
D1,
dream
and he
right
made
there.
that transition. And it feels like he's making this transition pretty well too here. But there were things that made him fall to 30. I'm still stunned it happened because he was a guy I really liked, and it felt like a little bit of a reach. But we'll see how it develops here. I love what I'm seeing so far. Between, like Noah said, how hard he plays, but there's a skill set too. He's not just running around like Neesmith. Like
It's
the handle, the rebounding, the shooting, it's all great.
it's Joe's secret weapon. Wouldn't it be great?
Neesmith.
Like this, the best thing in the world would be if Joe's been just holding back this whole time and he's ready to unleash a secret weapon and an entirely new offense that nobody has seen all year. Part of me actually thinks the second part of that is true, that the Celtics have been literally just running like preseason, NFL game number 2 at the entire league this whole year. And all of a sudden they come out in the postseason. It's like running all these sets and actions that nobody's seen. And like, what the F is that?
That
And
would
they've
be
just been on-
wild.
That would be awesome. So part of me's holding out. So we don't know if Shireman has arrived. Do you know who has arrived? This guy, Luke Cornett. And yes, folks, this is as close to an apology cam as I'm ever going to get here.
Wow.
So
Sounds like an
don't ask-
apology, actually.
Don't ask for it. But
Come
I'm
on,
sorry.
John, just do it.
No, Bobby, and you know why I won't do it. Why, Jimmy?
Because it was true at the time.
I wasn't
Because it was
wrong
true at the time.
before.
That's how that works. Okay. You have to be proven wrong then, not now. Okay. But I love this guy so much. I feel bad that I ever said anything bad. It is impossible not to love everything about what Luke Cornett is doing, even when he struggles now. He's like one of your children. Like it's just bless him, like even those days that he's not doing great. But everything he did tonight was so amazing. It was like the touch it takes on some of those tip-ins, the left-handed follow slam, the goofy shit, pumping his fist on the free throw, barking after the dunk, just all of that stuff. I'm here for all of it. I love all of it. And again, I still think it's handled with care when it comes to certain playoff series here. But in terms of what you needed in the regular season with resting Horford and Porzingis out, you can't have gotten better than you've gotten from Luke this year. And he was awesome tonight. It's fun. I'm glad Luke is here is my main thing. It's more like a Luke appreciation post as it is anything else.
I'm happy for
Yeah,
you,
there's
John.
things
that
he's
was-
doing. There's things he's doing that he didn't do before, for sure. And I think that's opening a lot of people
Fuzzy.
to.
I miss this guy. I was thinking about it. I haven't heard from him in a while. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Bobby.
I think it opens the door for a lot of people to like him more than they did in the past, but it's still the stuff he did before that I loved him for that is so exciting to me. Like my guy Owen Phillips, I think, put a thing out there that he's second, him and Tatum, in pick and roll scoring or something like that. Pick and roll baskets created, and that's just an amazing stat. And that's the kind of stuff that always stood out to me: is the screening, the passing out of the high post. Just how smart his positioning is on both ends. And that leads, obviously he's looking much stronger. He's looking much bigger. He's looking more physical, and all that stuff's helped him reach another level this year. But it's still that baseline of how smart he plays that to me, and I was really struggling to hold back on it, John, but I legitimately think he's been one of the most impactful.
This was holding back, Bobby. I got you.
I legitimately think he's been one of the more
hasn't gone
impactful role
full
players
Luka
in the
yet.
league.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yes.
I mean, have you guys seen some of the analytics around him coming out of these past few days? I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
who
what
this,
Bobby was talking about, the pick
Yeah.
and roll stuff and all of that.
right?
You know.
And so it's kind of like we don't really even have to make the case for him anymore. He's kind of just speaking for himself, and I do think there's an element of like the
20
chemistry.
million. Yeah.
What was it?
He's gonna make 20
20
million.
million.
20 million.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna make 20 million, but I think he's gonna get a big payday this summer. This
And
is like
leave?
the optimal season.
You were saying
to
he's
Well,
have.
then
gonna
he's not gonna be playing here.
Yeah.
Say goodbye
I
to
don't
You
know
were
Luke,
giving me
guys.
hope that he was gonna stay, Noah.
Yeah, he's getting a little too good.
You're
I don't
watching
know.
what you guys are seeing is a man's heartbreak live
Yeah, I was
on,
giving Bobby
on
hope.
screen. Bobby,
Hey, maybe he'll turn it
Noah
down
gave an
again.
impassioned speech about how he's gonna stay because he's comfortable and this is home and blah blah blah. And now he's gonna go
And I
cash
think
out.
he's
And
smart. Like
I
you said, he's
laughed.
smart. You watch NBA players all the time chase the money and ruin their careers for a little bit more and put themselves in a bad situation. He's in a great
I know. Imagine if he
situation
went
right
to
now.
Utah. Might have been
Yeah, I
screwed.
mean, the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is when you look at like individual defenders, like this is not necessarily about Luke, but you can't really be a good defender in a bad defense, and suddenly like you're just kind of irrelevant at a point, and nobody really knows how to assess your value. A lot of the things that he does really well, he does within a very specific system around alongside guys that he has incredible chemistry with. Like I think Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and Luke Cornett is one of the most underrated storylines. How long those guys have been playing together, and especially Sam and Luke all the way back to Maine, like having that they've been on this journey this whole time. So I don't know that he can replicate this on another team. I don't know how it would look. Sure, he do great things, but he's perfect right now, right here. But at a certain
John,
point,
you're muted.
It's okay. He was interrupting.
He's
No.
going to cost
He
8
was.
times what he costs. No, it's not whether he fits. It's every
Right.
dollar you pay him. Luke signing for $7 million is a 20. That's his 20. That's his. You know, I mean, that's
Yeah.
Luke signing for $6 million is literally $45 million against the tax. It's insane, right?
Yeah, and that's
keep
the thing.
Al,
It's like
too.
I think he'd take a pay cut to stay, but it might get to the point where it's like a minimum versus something really substantial. And even the most like I want to stay here with my family and the system's great guy is he going to turn down $30 million over 3 years? I don't know. Like
No.
it might get to the point where you can't really say no to it. So again, I don't know.
Especially
but
for a guy who's
over these
never
past
cashed in.
weeks- Say it again.
Especially for a
Yeah.
guy who's never cashed in. He was
Yeah,
in the
he's
G
never
League
cashed
3 years
in.
ago.
If you guys
And I-
like Luke and you like Al, then you got to say goodbye to something else. Like,
And I
that-
think we're
that-
going to see something else go.
and you're going to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Regardless of Luke and Al both staying. And it might get to that point, and we'll have some time to talk about that, I think, when the season ends. But I do think it's inevitable that those two guys are really important to this team.
No, Luke's gonna have a
and-
significant market this summer. There's almost no doubt.
Yeah.
Look at how many
And
bet. Then
it's
this is
bummer
my
that he's the
my
one
third
guy-
center thing. Go ahead, Noah.
No, just that he's the one guy that they signed for a 1-year deal last year, because he probably had a bigger leap than anybody. And so I think, when you're signing somebody to, a couple other guys got multi-year deals, and he got the 1-year deal, and he really showed out this year. And so that's the one bummer. I think they had a great offseason re-signing everybody, but you sure do wish that he was on a 2 to 3 year deal right now with how this year's gone.
Well, if Luke's gone, I'm gone. I'm going to any city he goes to.
Imagine if that was your beat. You were just a Luke beat writer.
he's like
Windhorse.
Windhorse, but for Luke.
He's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been here the whole time I've been on the show. I don't know what I'd do without him.
I was this close to moving to Portland.
For Rob.
Yeah. That would have been a bad decision based on the amount of games Rob has played.
I know.
Um, But none of this should be a surprise to you guys. It's like with any career, you excel at your role at this company. Somebody reaches out and they offer you 3x your salary. It's a new role. It's an exciting startup company. Blah, blah, blah. You're not really sure how it's going to go, but it's hard to pass up the money. Yeah, maybe the company fails, but you still, you hit your payday. You do it for your family. Your family goes with you. Luke's not going to leave his family if he goes to another team. They're all going to go with him. So he does at some point have to make the best decision for himself. And I think this year signing the 1-year deal for the money that he, maybe he could have got a little bit more. Well, we know that he could have gotten more elsewhere, but he knew the opportunity was here in Boston. He knew the nationally televised games. He knew that if he put the work in and got the opportunity, he bet on himself. And that's exactly why signing that 1-year deal in Boston made sense for him. That doesn't mean he's going to keep signing 1-year deals at a minimum just to help the team. But he was able to sign a deal that, it helped the team, but it also helped him in a way because it allowed him to bet on himself. And this is exactly probably the situation I imagine that he wanted to find himself in, is sort of hitting his stride, finding his role, becoming a very effective role player for this team. The plus minus is obviously skewed because he's on such a good team. Of course, if he was in Utah, he would not be having the plus minus that he has. It wouldn't even be remotely close. But to your point, Noah and Bobby, playing along the same guys that he's played with in the G League, playing with some of the best players in the league, whether it's Tatum or Brown or whoever it is on any given night, White could, be that player. It's allowed him to, I think, expand on his game, become more confident. Guys are more confident in him. And we were talking about Luke last year, like it would be a massive problem if Luke was getting like significant minutes in the playoffs. But now it's something that they, we kind of expect him to have like a pretty big role in the playoffs. Obviously, like Porzingis coming back and everyone being healthy, he's not going to be playing 30 minutes a game, but he's going to be one of the guys, that they depend on off the bench. So that's a huge change.
Luke won't be Luke anywhere else. That's clear. It's just it's the economics of it, whether or not you're still paying massive tax penalties or if you've moved things around. But as Noah said,
it sucks. The NBA did this to us. Like
it's definitely, as Noah said, a conversation for next year. What's a conversation for now is definitely
apology cam.
Yeah,
get out of here.
Honestly, John, that looked like an apology to me. The way you said, you basically apologized.
I did. But I didn't apologize for hating on him back then. I apologize because now I love him so much. I feel guilty. But I do. I feel bad. I'm like, how could I have ever?
I mean, Luke barking down the court tonight was unreal.
I loved it.
I love that.
I loved it. What is the here and the now is that we are in the third center region right now, and we are voting. We've done the 1 through 8. It doesn't mean it's done, but definitely Toothpaste Sandwich started to kind of,
as it should,
flex its muscles a little bit on the 8 seed Credit Cake, but there's still time. You can vote on Twitter. We're not going to be closing this ballot until tomorrow game time when we open up the other games as well, and we'll be doing the remaining phenomenal bracket regions, the 3-6 and the 2-5 tomorrow during the game against what the hell are they doing tomorrow? Sacramento. Oh boy, Sacramento. So that one is done. We're now moved on to right now live in the show, in the stream is third center region, the 4 versus 5. You're muted versus Toast Brain / Toast Brain, which is, again, Jimmy's not hard of hearing. We just have all of these weird sayings where Jimmy thought he heard something else, and it's totally fine. Yeah.
Sometimes the way you say things, but we already got You're Muted tonight. And that's why I think it's going to make a run, because this is something that just every
happens
show
every night.
You're Muted. Yeah. And it's become part of the show. You're Muted. So I think You're Muted could do some damage in this tournament. I think it's only fair that it does.
Yeah. Very quickly, I've had a couple of people ask me during the stream my thoughts on the Severance finale. You can tweet me and I'm happy to talk with you about it over there, but we're not going to do Showtime.
I heard it was good.
Especially because there might be spoilers and I'm not doing that, but I'm happy to talk with you there if you want.
Was it good?
Again, I have my thoughts, but I'll hold on to it. A little bit of a mixed bag, but I like the show so much I don't really care.
Is anyone on the White Lotus? Because that's airing right now, and I'm going to watch it after this show.
I'm not. I didn't love the first season enough to even watch the second. I know people dig it, but that's not my.
This season's really weird, and I don't really like this season. I'll say that.
Yeah,
they're all weird. Though.
Yeah, moving around here. Other leftover thoughts for tonight's game that you wanted to hit on, Noah? Because again, this was your favorite game of the year. We spent time on Baylor. We spent time on Luke. And you know what? It's not fair to not talk about Pritchard because he gets his first start back in his hometown, and the poor dude picks up 3 fouls in 4 minutes and 39 seconds, has to sit the majority of the first half, and you're like, what a wash. He's not going to make any sort of impact in this game at all. And that was not the case as he came on strong here when he, finally did get back in. He didn't start the second half either. Shireman got the nod there, and I thought it was going to be, I was curious what was going to happen, but he acquitted himself fairly well after that kind of rocky start.
Yeah, I think he has the best career averages against the Blazers than any NBA team. Obviously, had that 43-point performance a couple weeks ago, and you know the whole drill when like a player has a home, playing in front of their hometown. And this is even more unique because there's not that many NBA players that are from that area. So I think this is like a big deal. You could hear it on the broadcast, you could see it all the time. I obviously wasn't there, but it sounded like there was a pretty big turnout for him. And yeah, he's just a microwave scorer, and that's sometimes he's been diminished to that, but I think the reality is that he does have that microwave scoring ability in a very unique way. And he just saw a few go in the third quarter and finished with 16 and had like a moment in front of that crowd, even though obviously the foul trouble was uncharacteristic and just kind of like a bummer considering the situation. But also I'm sure he realized like the stakes were not that high in reality. But he's just he finds a way to I think he's averaging around 15 points a game right now. And obviously there's been the high end of that, and there's been some games where he hasn't scored as much, but he can pretty easily, consistently score in that range, 16 tonight, and that's with being very severely limited in the first half. And so he had that fun back-to-back three-pointer, the one where he kind of hooked the guy, and I think his defender was trying to flop. I'm not sure exactly what that was.
He broke him.
Yeah, and then
no, that was the one in the lane. The one who did he knock on his ass there, and then ended up with that little scoop lefty layup. That was great.
Oh yeah, I forget who that was.
Kind of player that if he's from your area, like you're excited to come watch him because he kind of does put on a show the way that he plays.
Jimmy, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. Damn.
Sorry, yeah, I know. I just wanted you to know. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Noah.
Perfect.
No, he was trying to talk, and he thought nobody noticed that he was trying to talk. But I just wanted to make sure that it's very clear that I saw it. Okay, go ahead.
Boop. Yeah.
I have Pritchard 15th all time among players from Oregon. I would have expected he'd be higher.
Who's won?
You already have this pre-ranked list?
No, it's just all-time scoring players from Oregon.
Oh.
Well, can you give us
Mike Newland's number one, whoever that is. AC Green.
Is there anybody else currently in the NBA?
Sabonis is the leader right now, who they're going to see tomorrow. And Jeremy Grant is actually from there too, which I did not know.
So Danny Ainge.
Hometown hero.
Danny Ainge is third.
Yeah.
Dame Stoudemire fourth.
Yeah.
Who is Celtics assistant.
Pritchard's exciting guy. I can see, and there obviously aren't a lot of players that come out of Oregon, so I can see why a lot of people would show up for that. I mean, obviously went to college there, and so he's been a lifer, and he's kind of putting him on probably feels like he's putting him on the map a little bit in a way. So he had an awesome second half. I mean, he was just, you could and you could tell that he wanted to show out for the fans there, a couple of nice outside shots. And yeah, he put that other dude on skates there. So he was feeling it. It was cool. It was good to see that. I was definitely bummed when he picked up that third foul, but you could tell he was just going he was just going like balls to the walls. He had a lot of fire.
I was wondering afterwards, I was like, did he just get some bad whistles, or was he like doing a little bit too much with the starting lineup opportunity? And
he was excited. Yeah,
he might have been a little excited.
Third
so
one
I don't
was
know.
Bad.
But it's just overall, like, obviously I'm excited to see the main guys because, JD, like I said, this is his third year with the organization, and he's gotten, you can count on one hand how many first half regular opportunities he's had. So it's just cool to see, like, for him, it's a big deal. And, everybody in Maine is watching, and he's flying back and forth all the time. Like I have, last week he was in Greensboro. He flew to New York for one day, didn't check into that game, and then that same day flew back to Greensboro. It was a two games in 3 night situation, and was like just for the opportunity to like watch the game ultimately from the bench. So I like that, like when he does make the trip, that he's getting something out of it. But overall, I'm liking these games just because we don't really need to see Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and Jaylen Brown against the Blazers. There's just no way that mentally everybody's going to be
better,
perfectly locked in. It's just you want to make sure you get a few of these 5 starting lineup games before this regular season ends, because you don't want to go into the playoffs having it's been months since you have everybody together for a few. So I'm sure they're going to prioritize that. They're going to want that continuity. Right now you can't get it anyways because Jalen's actually hurt. So it's you may as well like lean into the whole give guys an opportunity and try different things thing. But you have 12 games or 11 games after this. Like you're going to want a few where everybody's playing together so that they're not like totally rusty and out of rhythm.
I've kicked that around. Like when's that going to be?
Like a first
How much
half.
Do they need that?
But when you do that, you're only going to do it Yeah, when you do that, it's only going to be like exhibition style. The starters will play regular first half minutes and then they'll sit. But then
Maybe,
that's I think that's how you'll play it down the
Joe's
stretch.
obsessed with winning these games, though, John.
I know, but Noah's right. Like it's just if at the start if you had a full lineup against Portland tonight, you're probably just going to get mad at everybody because it'll be this weird ho-hum game where nobody really wants to play and they're just jacking threes and everybody's going ISO. Where here
and
you got guys playing their ass off.
Yeah, like Baylor's coming in and it's like this is his chance, so now it makes everybody else have to play like that. Or JD's coming in and it's like this is like a breakthrough moment for him. So
much better.
Yeah, I think it elevates everybody's play. It gives Tatum an opportunity to get his stats up a little bit, which I'm sure he cares about as he's racking accolades and things. So it's just a win-win-win.
And the ball moves a lot better too because you're
talked about after that Utah game.
Why do you think that is, John?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm just asking a
don't do
analysis show.
Don't do it.
Noah, I'll ask Noah then.
They had 27 more passes than
Don't make me do it,
Friday.
Jimmy.
I bet they had more tonight too. Tonight didn't feel as crazy, Noah, in terms of the movement and the passing and all that as that Friday game did, but that was pretty staggering. The Utah.
They probably tried. That was probably an intentional thing.
Yeah.
I would love to actually know.
Kessler.
Yeah. I observed a film session in Maine and it made me so badly want to see what a Celtics film session looks like with Joe and see like what the directives are, because we like notice trends and it's really hard to gauge if this is the plan for today. It's March 23rd and this is what we're going to do today and this is what we're going to focus on versus like if they just happen to head in a certain direction. So we'll see. And they've just been so good on the road too. That's the other thing is like they have the best record in the NBA on the road. They're 28-7. And it seems like the trips, the 2 January trips and now this one, like they've just kind of brought out the best in them. It's just, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's clear that they kind of lock in and that they've been really good there. And it's part of why thinking about the fact that they might not have home court advantage in the conference finals and in the finals, that's the path where how things shake out. Like I feel pretty okay with that, just considering how experienced and how good they have been in those situations.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to feel good. I think there's a lot to feel good about now with the direction of the team.
I'm stuck between right now as I watch them every night. I'm stuck between them having this month here that doesn't matter and they can try things and get everybody fully healthy and just how advantageous that's going to be. And the fact that they're just winning all these games again and looking like themselves. And still that fact that the Thunder winning by like 30 every night and have the best net rating of all time and the best.
Yeah, but don't worry about the Thunder. Don't worry again.
I can't stop worrying about them.
I know, but you couldn't stop worrying about Denver last year, and it didn't matter.
No. You said it though, because we're not talking about the Celtics, but we're on the outside looking in on Thunder, and it does feel a little bit last year, where everyone's just like, whatever, it doesn't matter, regular season, blah blah blah. But the numbers are right in front of us, and we're staring at what they're doing, and we're just not believing. Like
we're not discount. We're not NBA analysts looking for like a hot take. We're not discounting the Thunder. What you're saying is it doesn't matter if the Celtics get to the finals. You deal with it when you get there, but it's just not the thing you worry about. The Thunder have their own issues having to fight
the best
through
net
the Western
rating ever.
Conference but again, we're having two separate conversations. The Thunder are really good right now, probably playing better than the Celtics, and right now probably playing better than the Celtics played last year, which was a really dominant year. They're even more dominant now. It also doesn't matter because if you're really not concerned with anything, because first you got to get to the finals and they got to get to the final. And as Noah had said, odds are it's not going to be Celtics Thunder in the finals. So like, it's just not worth talking about. When you get there, it's going to. So do I. But again, the odds are against that. That's kind of the point. So you don't really worry about it until you get there. I never care what the team in the West, what the other conference is doing. They may or may not get through. They may have bad injury luck, bad matchup luck. It's still a lot of unknowns.
It's like worry about it when you get there. If
you worry about it when you get there, you really only got to do, what you have to do, what's in front of you. And that involves overtaking the Cleveland Cavaliers, who've sputtered a little bit recently. So we were going to talk about that in just a minute. First off, I want to once again shout out to another one of our sponsors here at the Garden Report, and that, of course, is Game Time. Score last-minute tickets to literally anything you want to see. Bobby's already grabbing Red Sox tickets. He's geeked up. Well, we might send Bobby to Fenway. If the Celtics get bounced early, you're looking at the new CLNS Media Red Sox reporter right there, Bobby Manning. But download that Game Time app. Create an account, use code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terrific features here, all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're paying. Panoramic views from your seat, literally access to any event that you want to go to. This is the best app to use for this sort of thing. I love it. I've used it several times myself. So again, do us a favor if you are trying to find seats to events that are tough to get into, and obviously that's going to be the case when the Celtics hit the playoffs here. Check out Game Time. The prices really go down as you get closer to tip-off. You can monitor it the whole way through. Download the app. Use code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. So let's talk about it a little bit. Cleveland, and I saw this stat put up recently. All NBA championships, their worst month, I think, is March in terms of win percentage. Everyone just kind of starts to like chill a little bit here. But we saw the Cavs. Not only have they lost a few in a row, overall, they haven't been playing that well. They won tonight. Tonight was one of the weirder stat lines you'll ever see. They shot something like 20% from three and won by 30 points. Over Utah, which is tanking its ass off right now. Yeah, that's what they shot 20. They shot 48 threes tonight against Utah, 22.9%. They made 11 of them, and they still won this game by 29 points. But they're not playing with the same level of dominance again, at least recently. Donovan Mitchell's been on a cold streak shooting wise for the last 8 to 10 games or so, and they're starting to look a little bit more human. And if you look at them again, you have a better point differential than the Celtics, maybe thanks to a lot of blowout wins, throughout the year, and they've had a couple long win streaks. But overall, you look at teams who are top 5 or 6 in offensive and defensive rating. Cleveland's not one of those teams. OKC is. The Celtics are. Minnesota's close. I think they're like 4 and 7 or something like that. But Cleveland's not one of those teams. And I do wonder, I think a lot of people aren't worried about them, have never been worried about them, are willing to respect them and think that they're good. But most people, I think, push comes to shove, are going to be backing the Celtics if those two meet in the conference finals, as it appears that they might. How are you guys feeling about the Cavs these days? Noah, start with you.
Yeah, I think the streak, it felt long overdue. They've just been on this torrid, just insane pace of winning the season. It's not the ideal time. I know the stat about the Warriors and the Nuggets. I still think that for a team like them that they haven't had a deep playoff run, if you're gonna get your adversity moment of trying to like overcome something and get better from it, it's not the best time to have it a couple weeks before the playoffs begin. It's a lot of it has been Donovan Mitchell's really struggled, and he's somebody that's pretty proven in the postseason. And I don't think if they lose, it's going to be because he didn't show up. So on that side, like, I guess that's a pretty good sign. Like, I don't think he's going to, he was like 2 of 18 the other night. For the Celtics, I like this matchup. So that's why when we've talked about these two teams meeting, which I do think is a more valuable conversation, because it does seem pretty likely that that's going to happen, or more likely that's going to happen. I like the matchup, but again, all of these teams, all of these matchups, it's like, it's going to come down to so many little things. Like we talked about Indiana last year, like we talked about this a million times, but a couple of things go differently in that game one. Like we're looking at a different series. So as much as I have confidence in the Celtics, and I don't think this 4-game losing streak is indicative of like they've been frauds this whole time, I still think there's a lot of reasons why this roster just is stronger than the Cavs. And I don't love the fact that they haven't been there before. Like I know every team has their breakthrough moment, but the OKC has more of those factors of like, this is their year than Cleveland does. So I don't know. I like that they lost those few games from a Celtics standpoint, because I think they needed to have something happen. Like they needed to have some reckoning. And so I think that it was becoming kind of like weird how neither of the teams had any losing streak, and now one of them has. But it's March, and the Warriors and the Nuggets like kind of set that groundwork already.
I mean, what matters more, the fact that they have 2 15-game winning streaks this year, or one, 4-game losing streak?
Right.
It's a long season. I think, the same excuses we can make for the Celtics when they look off. we can make for the Cavs. That it's game 70. You know, this Cavs team has been, you know, in the standings at least, light years away of pretty much everybody in the East for a while. Coming back down to earth, I think, is normal. Certainly, if you're the Cavs, you don't want to go limping into the playoffs. I think you want to go in, you know, playing strong basketball, and you do want to go in as that 1 seed, not because of home court, although we know how good the Cavs are at home, but because it signifies that you finished the year strong and you were able to kind of, you know, finish how you started. If you give up the 1 seed to the Celtics, that'd just be a horrible look for them going into the playoffs. I think that would mess with them mentally a little bit. And I think it would give the Celtics even more like just ammo and just confidence that they are, you know, the team to beat. And I'm sure they feel that way anyways. But if the Celtics end up with the 1 seed going into playoffs, that means the Cavs really did limp to the finish line here. And that doesn't bode well for them.
I saw Celtics have a 1% chance to get.
Yeah, I mean, it is highly unlikely, but the fact that it's only 5 games now, and again, it's still unlikely. It just goes to show that, you know, a little bit of a losing streak like the Cavs found themselves on, you know, all of a sudden, just like that, the gap closes because the Celtics can rip off 10 wins as easy as any team in the league. So you can't really afford to take too much time off if you're the Cavs, but I think that they need to, you know, sort of right the ship a little bit. I'm not saying that it's way off track, but just get back to their style of play. I think the Cavs are legit. I think it's definitely Celtics Cavs in the NBA Finals. There's no team in the East. Detroit's interesting, right? Because they can kind of like just out like
it's my favorite
muscle
team.
you and stuff. I just don't know if they can do it in a 7-game series repeatedly enough.
You know, I think you can get scares from Detroit. I think you can get a scare from Indiana. Here,
maybe, though, I don't know.
I like how they're playing a lot lately,
team.
and that's a team that the Celtics they can do things
and give you a scare,
that frustrate the Celtics. So matchups are everything. You know, just in terms of, again, can you see the Celtics fully healthy losing a 7-game series to anyone in the East? No, I mean, beating them 4 times is going to be extremely difficult. They got to go ice cold for an entire series, I think, for that to be realistic. But, you know, you lose a hot shooting game, you go cold for 2, you know, yeah, things could definitely happen. And I think some of those teams can frustrate them or be athletic and physical. They're not bulletproof. Last year, I thought they were, even before people started falling with injuries, I thought they were bulletproof last year. I couldn't fathom it.
Right.
I think other teams are better around them this year and might be entering the playoffs a little bit better off.
The 3 is so important, and they haven't had it for a lot this year, the Celtics, at least compared to how they had it last year. And I think that's played out in how their season's gone. And for the Cavs, it's been everything. And they've been floating around like 40% from 3 all year, which is unbelievable given the personnel they have, given what they did in the past. They don't shoot a ton, but it does make sense to me that they're up at 38% for the season, which is first in the league. And during this losing streak, they're down the last in the league at 31%. And most of it's Mitchell, as Noah said, down to 14%. So I wouldn't be panicking if I was them, just given those massive drop-offs and his specifically. But I do wonder, are they going to shoot 38% during the playoffs from 3? Are they going to be able to hold that up? And specifically, can they stop their opponents from hitting threes, which is really why they've been dominant this year? And in that Celtics matchup, other than the last game where they did it well with Hunter involved and all that, they haven't stopped the Celtics threes in those games. It's been like a 15-20 shot difference in the first 3 games there. And Celtics were able to get their 40-50 threes off and have that as a real edge over Cleveland. So that's where I think that matchup gets decided. Do the Celtics have a cold streak in them from 3 in the playoffs? I still think that's such a big part of their game that it would impact them negatively if that happened, especially from a Holiday or a Hauser or a Horford or something like that. And then for the Cavs, I almost think if you're them, you have to keep that up to be able to beat the Celtics. It's going to take some extraordinary shooting from that team to be able to win a series against Boston, just because I don't think they can shoot as many threes as the Celtics do. So the threes are still everything here. And Celtics have gotten back to, I think, 6th in the league, but they were first last year. And that was what made them really unstoppable.
Yep. Yeah, there's not much to worry about, right? Like, it's just a matter of...
I'll always find something, John.
No, you just get there and you see what happens. But again, I think they're in a good place right now overall, assuming the Jalen thing isn't real. And it's really just let's keep him from himself here. We talked about it a little bit, but is there any level of concern, you guys, here? And again, I guess tomorrow we'll see. But He's out through this weekend and is being reevaluated tomorrow. Who's got bad vibes here?
Should we do panic meter? Can we do panic meter, Joe?
Do we have
I don't know.
We have it. We might as well use
Throw it up.
Put it up. I think it's important. This is
Okay.
This is so outdated, this panic meter.
Why?
Yeah, it
Because
is.
Bobby's in the least panicked.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I'm like a cup of water. I'm so calm. Like,
John used to.
I can't believe we're
John
still full
used to
using
do
that panic meter.
Bobby's
I'm
just
not
like,
too
yeah,
bad.
Bobby used to be calm, and now he's literally like he can't help. It doesn't matter what it is. He's very,
Captain Chaos.
Yeah, he's very nervous. He's petrified, actually.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with Bobby then? Bobby, how nervous are you about this?
Well, I want to throw it at John because John usually has the most medical insight here.
To me, I have no medical insight.
John
To
is
me,
like
when I hear-
the mad scientist.
Look,
To me, when I hear bone bruise, it sounds pretty bad. I think of guys missing.
Noah's had one.
3-4
She's
weeks.
already told you about it.
I know. I hate that I keep bringing up my injuries that I suffered playing AAU basketball.
Jimmy won't let me do that.
I know, but it's just like that's my only reference point. I don't know anything about like medical things. So
Yeah, my cousin
just-
had the same thing
I
actually.
know.
Yeah.
How long
I
did
hate
it-
doing it. And I've
how
already
long
been
did it
doing it
take
too
to heal?
much.
But
I've already been doing
can't
it too much.
hit
So
the nails in the same way.
How long did it take to heal, Noah?
it took a while. It took like 6 weeks probably.
I think bone
But
bruises
he
take a
suffered
while to
this in-
heal.
Yeah, it takes a while, but also he suffered it a while ago. Like this has been going on for 5 or 6 weeks, so he might have reinstigated it in that. I think it was the Oklahoma City game,
The
like
Thunder
he
game with the
might have-
dunk, yeah.
Yeah, so he might have reinstigated it, but he's I view the rest as
Reinstigated?
more. Is that not
Is
right?
that the word?
I don't think that's the word, but it's fine.
Re-aggravated it.
Re-aggravated.
Okay, just making
Yeah,
sure.
I wasn't, and I said it like 4 times, so it was worth calling out.
I let it go
Um,
the first couple
No,
times. I was like, wow,
I
I'm
think
an
I was
idiot.
trying to
I don't
say
even
it
know
so I
what
could
that
believe
means.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think ultimately, like I would be very surprised if it keeps him out of playing any playoff games. I think they're resting him right now because literally, like it's exacerbated by pounding, right? So why play if you're going to exacerbate the bruise? I just don't know where he is in his timeline. If like the clock reset, how bad it is. An MRI is what found it. I'm sure we'll get more information earlier next week. I will say,
Are you sure?
I think it's the first. Probably
Maybe from
something.
him.
Here's what I'll say though. Is that the first email injury since Porzingis's like weird leg thing that he suffered in the finals? Because we got an email
John
for this
said
one,
it.
which made me,
We got
which I don't know
an
why.
email for this and not the owner, the damn team being sold.
Well, I don't know what the PR regimen is.
still have to
for
talk
that.
But
about
I
that,
don't.
too.
That's the thing is like it's either weird, like it's really weird to be like a guy's out couple of games with like a day-to-day injury. To send something out is like made me a teeny bit nervous of like
That's what made me a little nervous.
are they pumping?
Are they setting the table for
Are they
something?
setting the table for something bigger? Because I didn't like that it was like that. It's guys.
I still
guys
don't
all-
understand why he
all-
was out and then
We
came
didn't
back.
get an email on Holiday's shoulder. He was
That's
just
what I'm saying. We didn't get we didn't get a mouth finger email. We didn't get a Porzingis illness email. Maybe it's PR just being like we want to be more like communicative or whatever. But
It was
that
weird.
was the one thing where I was like, either it's just like a communication change and then it doesn't need to be too.
I don't think
discussed,
so.
But it's also possible that there is something to it. This has been bothering him again since mid-February. It's kind of a long time, and it's a knee, and a knee just throws everything off. So that's why I've been saying this even when he was playing. Like that is my biggest concern with his team going into the postseason is whatever he's dealing with, because he is so important to what they do on both ends. And him being compromised, he's just a player that relies on his explosiveness, defensively, offensively. You don't want him to be dealing with a knee thing going into the postseason. Like that's just not a good start, especially because it's going to be a long one. You're going to play you're going to be in a lot of battles, all these different things. So maybe they're just being really precautionary right now, and he'll come back in a week and be at 95% because the bruise is mostly healed. In the scheme of things, a bone bruise, I don't think should be like the worst case. It could have been like a tear or something more. But
Clean tear.
more.
I
Best way
don't
to
think
go.
there's something.
No, you can't
I don't
say
think there's
tear.
something serious.
Why?
You just can't say it. You can't say
Why?
because you
Yeah,
can't.
but it already happened. I'm not jinxing him.
Oh, whoa. We don't know. We don't want anything to happen.
I don't think. Again, he missed that Friday game, and that was after the Thunder one, where the re-aggravation might have happened.
I have a question after Bobby's.
And then he came back the next day, and to me, the bone bruise is adding a layer to it and saying, all right, he's going to miss some time here, and here's why. The posterior, whatever that he's been on the list forever with, which is just
so many made up injuries.
It's so that a guy can sit out and
posterior
rest.
knee impingement is literally just 3 words they threw together.
Wait, you don't think that's what he has?
They just threw darts. All right, what's his injury?
Yeah,
It's just something they can
posterior
say as a reason for why he's out.
It's Felger's
knee.
draft board.
Yeah, exactly.
Tendinopathy. Tatum's got tendinopathy, but the bone bruise, I think, is something that can allow him to miss significant time here. And obviously he has it, right? But he's going to miss the only thing now here. And so you can go around at the end of the season and just be like, oh, he was hurt. He would have made it. And so I think that's probably why he was pushing. I think that's why he was pushing back from it on Saturday. Because, again, you're not looking right. You're not feeling right, obviously, going back a while. But I keep going back to that quote he said on Wednesday, Noah, where he looked worse than he'd ever looked before and was like, oh, I feel fine. I've never felt better. This is the best I've felt in weeks after that Thunder game. And then, he misses the first half of the back-to-back, but he's right back out there against the Nets. And it's like, oh, and then he goes down with the back spasms there. So I'm not concerned about the seriousness of it here. I think this is just an unfortunate situation where he needs to get right badly for the team. And it's going to force him to miss all NBA, which is a really difficult thing to do.
Yeah, he would have missed it anyway. But
so that's my conspiracy theory. You guys,
the Celtics did it to avoid the embarrassment.
I don't even know if it's an embarrassment. I don't know if embarrassment is the word, but perhaps his value takes a hit if he misses. Like his perceived value across the league may take a hit if he's not voted onto one of those teams, as opposed to not qualifying and therefore not being able to be voted for. What would happen if he, did play enough games? Maybe he does get the votes. Maybe he is good enough. Maybe you can make that comparison. So there might be a little of both, John. It might be one, avoid the embarrassment. It might be two. Well, of course, Jaylen Brown's all NBA player. He just, had a couple injuries this year that just made him ineligible to qualify to make those teams.
Yeah, it's again, we'll see.
When these announcements come out, like the Jaylen Brown one, who gives the okay on that? Is that something that the team can just go out and not make any announcement they want about a player's personal, health or whatever? I feel like the player has to sign off on all those things. So there could be a lot of players. Maybe this is why the Celtics don't do a lot of them. Could be a lot of players that maybe, you know what? I'd rather it not be out there. I want to keep it, between us. I don't want people asking me about this or that or the other thing. It's just day to day.
I think that's exactly what this
maybe
is.
This is I can do a little bit of reporting here when I join the road trip and learn about the process.
That would be great.
Why we sometimes get more.
That would be good.
Because I wonder if the player just says, "Yeah, you know what? Put that out. I want you to."
That's exactly how it works, Jimmy, because it's medical.
So maybe
there you go then. So we're all wondering why,
because it's more severe, but because Jaylen's cool with it being out there.
Each team is different. I don't know the Celtics process. I do know, for example, in having talked to the Patriots players over the years, especially after they were done playing in Foxborough, they used to get really upset by the lack of transparency from the team, because they would just show up on injury reports with something that just said knee probable, and then they wouldn't play, and everyone would be like, what's going on? And the reality was they had like arthroscopic surgery, and the team didn't announce it because they didn't want to tell anybody, and they were out 4 to 6 weeks, but they kept popping on each week in the report, and then fans would get really mad, and they're like, how long is it going to take for this guy with this minor injury to get back? And people started
think of Porzingis too a couple of weeks ago, and
Porzingis himself was like, I didn't like where the narrative was going, so I put my own thing out there. So you do wonder in this case why that was said, or so there's probably a lot of different reasons why. I do wonder how much the players do get involved in it. And sometimes there's definitely just the team feels the need to spin something, or the inquiries are going, or they want to quell something and they just put it out there because they're like, here's what's actually happening here. But it was curious, because if it was a day-to-day thing, you wouldn't have gotten, that alert about it, and that he'll be evaluated again Monday. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I'm guessing
there is also, unfortunately, the history of them saying, "Oh, he's hurt."
They're really bad at this.
It'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, a week later, it's like done for the year. So I get why you'd be nervous about that, but I don't think that's the case there.
They're really bad at this. But here's the thing. If it is something that is not great, but it's not structural, and you're just dealing with, as Noah said, bone bruise, which is painful and is exacerbated by constantly playing on it and feeling it and making it worse and making it more uncomfortable. If he were, in fact, to miss every game the rest of the year, plus what he's already missed here, you're looking at basically 4.5 weeks of rest, which is substantial at this point. So if it were a multi-week thing, that time exists right now. You'd love to get him back before the playoffs, but you'd rather him play pain-free. You could even consider, if it was something that needed 6 weeks, let's get through the first round without him. And you can, and it's fine. So again, they have that luxury, and they did it without Porzingis, and they can absolutely advance to at least round 2. Yep.
Then you got to reintroduce them and find the chemistry and the rhythm and all that again too, which I do think is important for them because there's so many guys who've been in and out of the lineup and stuff this year, and so little.
There's
time
no
for the
chemistry
starters together.
What? I'm just kidding. It is what it is. They'll be fine. Like I said, I'm not worried about it. They're pros at this point. This isn't like a new team. They know how to play together. I'm not super worried about chemistry.
Yep.
Yeah. The health is more important here. Guys, any final thoughts before we wrap it here? And again, the bracket, I believe, is mostly done, but if you want to check it out here, this is the full bracket. We are still taking votes. The Twitter polls are open, so you can go in there. We are not going to determine winners until it is all through here. We're in the first round, and we are in the third center region voting on toothpaste sandwich versus credit cake, and you're muted versus toast brain. So you can vote, follow us on Twitter, follow everyone here on the Garden Report on their personal handles that you can see up here on the screen, and you get the latest and the greatest updates and all of our funny, entertaining tweets throughout the day. But also, you'll know when we go live and when we're dropping new content and all of that stuff. So make sure you give us a follow. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your notifications to be notified when stuff happens, when we go live, when new videos drop. Shout out once again to our sponsors, Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. Download it today. Win real money when you pick more or less on 2 or more players. Promo code CLNS for new users. Play 5, get 50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. And Game Time, you want to get tickets, get in and see the action, download the Game Time app. Doesn't matter what or where. Any ticket, anywhere. You can find it on Game Time. Create an account. Use code CLNS. $20 off your first purchase. You want to take the conversation offline? Head to Discord, where Amit's going to be friggin' tossing fools out of there.
Amit.
Yeah.
He's the Discord king, dude.
He's the Discord bouncer. So go check that out. And we always say this, you can support the Garden Report with post-game super chat donations. We're not saying we need to flood them here as the show's going off the air, but they are always welcome. The proceeds go to the host, so we always do appreciate that. Guys, as we said, the Celtics win this one. They're back tomorrow.
Wait, John.
I've already forgotten against who.
Jimmy.
I think San Francisco.
What's up, Bobby?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you joining us at 1 a.m. tomorrow?
Absolutely not. You will not see me on tomorrow's
Has he
show.
ever?
I
Has
will
he
be
ever?
in my 4th stage of REM, I think, by that point. Wait, before we go, did you guys? I wanted everyone's spark notes on the sale. Like I wasn't on that.
Oh,
show.
we need your thoughts on the sale. I want to
boy,
hear
Just
I
a
can't do
spark note. We got 5 minutes.
I don't
us-
do
we've-
spark notes. I speak in long-winded.
Yeah.
Like-
no, Jimmy, just
like
give us your thought. 'cause we've all talked
diatribe,
about
so
it.
I'm
You can
gonna
we
spit
can
it
send you
out.
the link to when we all talked about it the other night.
You
You're gonna
guys
make me
go.
watch?
You guys give
But I
yours.
wanna
I
hear-
can't do it.
I want to
Okay,
hear
I'll
your
give
thought,
mine.
Jimmy.
Sure, I'll give mine, and you probably know some of them, but this is not an indictment on any reporters or anything like that, but it just feels like the whole thing feels like state media a little bit in the sense where it's like it just feels like I'm in North Korea a little bit watching this unfold. Like we're getting just like the team and like this guy comes out of the clouds and he's like the biggest Celtics fan of all time, and he apparently has
He
was
looks
able
like
to
he's AI.
Yeah, he looks like Beep Bop. Like he's on like a Zoom call. Like he could be anywhere. You could be on another planet. And he's from the North Shore. He's a lifelong Celtics fan. He's this, he's that. I really still don't know much about this guy. And the fact that there wasn't like an official, like you said, there hasn't been like a press conference for it. No one's really been able to ask any questions or get any answers. We're all just believing like the script here. And it feels like almost like, I mean, again, we haven't been part of a sale like this, at least as I haven't been as a reporter, or as a media person. So I guess I don't really know what it should be like, but it just feels like we're missing a lot of information. So it's hard for me to have a full opinion. I mean, I think it's exciting, I guess, but I still don't know what type of owner this guy's going to be. It felt like Wick already kind of laid the foundation for some big changes on the radio. I think it was. He basically said, it's not about the money. It's about, the limitations. And so, we have to do something, right? So they're going to use the limitations that the NBA has created as a reason behind any moves that they make. But I think ultimately, if you're the owners and, it comes down to like the bottom line, there could be other reasons for them to make some off-season moves that I think we've already hinted to a little bit, even in this show. So I'm very interested to see how these guys, the next few years go. I also like the Wick thing is the most confusing part of this whole thing. And I think maybe you said this, John, maybe you haven't, but you said it to me, is that he feels like they took a deal that, can I say this? It's not like a secret, right? It feels like they took a deal that allowed Wick to have his hands on things.
No,
right?
I've said
Okay.
a lot of this on here. So
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of on your side with that. It feels like if there was more money up front on another deal, but
From
maybe they
Pags.
weren't allowing. Yeah, maybe they weren't allowing.
But wasn't
Wick-
this deal more expensive though?
it
Right,
was. No, it was. So according to Axios, Pag's deal was the third highest offer, but fully financed. Not sure if the second highest offer was fully financed. There's debt service involved with the first offer. We're not sure how much. So look, in terms of the owners, they're supposed to take the most money. For all of their partners. That's what they're supposed to do. You could take into consideration the fans as people that are important to the team that you want to try to satisfy or placate and say, well, this other deal is actually better because it's fully funded and we don't have to worry about it. But he's still short. Who knows how short? But you don't want sour grapes. Go 61 million and a penny, and then make your case.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. On the other hand, I can't imagine why Wick would want to be a part of a teardown or a complete 180 of where this team's been. I can't imagine he'd want to be a part of that. So that's all confusing to me. So I don't know if there's going to be a power struggle behind the scenes here. I don't know what's in writing and what isn't. I imagine it's got to be more than what Cuban got, which was just like some handshake deal. And clearly he has no say in what goes on in Dallas because and he's already said, he would not have, if he had a say, he would not have traded Luka away. So clearly he doesn't have a say. So I am interested to see how the Wick thing shakes out. But I would like a press conference. I think if there's a new owner in town, what'd you say?
There's none scheduled, but he's supposed to be in town. I was told in April. Yeah.
Don't we want some transparency if there's going to be, all this change? I would think fans.
Who are you and where did your money come from? Because nobody knows. That's the weird part. Who are you? What's the backing? What's the structure of the deal? All of these things are important to understand
who else is involved here
and what they're about.
Right.
Imagine how we would have felt about the Celtics if we knew Wick owned 1.5% when he came on. It would be a different vibe. It'd be like, oh, you're talking to us, but someone else is pulling the strings. That's weird. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different mindset. If we knew Wick owned 2% or whatever he owned, Pags owned 20, and Irv had the whole friggin' thing. We're like, why? You even in the press conference would be like, why are we talking to you? Can we talk to your dad? It's
someone call him up
for real. No, for real.
Yeah.
Why would you want to well, I speak for the fam. Nah, just put your dad on the phone. Let's hear what Irv has to say
because he's gonna make this, and that's why the Wick thing's a little bogus.
Because he's making the decision. So what does it matter?
How much of a decision can he make, and how much can he be in charge if he's not paying for anything?
Exactly. Like you're gonna hand somebody $6 billion and say, "Okay, I trust you."
Who's your daddy, and what does he do?
It's just that's why there are a lot of questions that I hope are asked, and I hope we get a little bit more clarity. I'm certainly not going to be the guy to do it, but I know there's a lot of good reporters out there that can, if given the opportunity, the chance. So Just
give us
wait
a
and see.
chance.
Just give you guys a chance. That's
That's all
all
they
we're asking
want.
for.
Yeah.
But I was just as surprised as anybody.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy.
Nobody knew who this guy was. Like nobody knew this guy existed. And a couple of days
He's
ago.
probably the most palatable person in the group. Like of the group of people that are financing this, he's probably the only one
Everyone
that
else
has
is
any.
a mutant.
No, I mean, as far as he's from Massachusetts, he maybe was somewhat of a fan. Maybe he was a diehard fan, but probably they looked around and was like, "Who's the best spokesperson?
Yeah.
I have a story to sell, you know."
Yeah.
And that's not even me being that cynical. It's just like that's probably. I mean, that's for sure what happened. And
It's
maybe he
so-
also happens to be the biggest
How do we
owner,
spin
and maybe
this?
he
Yeah,
just doesn't.
exactly.
But
No, and they literally, I mean, bent themselves into like they tried so hard to play that local angle,
Right,
to
and
the
that's
point-
what the state. That's the
I'm
state
just
media
waiting
coming.
because I'm afraid I wonder if behind the scenes he's studying like basketball, so he doesn't come into the first press conference and be like, sound like someone who's
Yeah,
like,
right.
maybe that's why they can't do a presser yet. Because if
I
someone
love
asked him, like,
watching the basketball. I have always, like it starts. I'll be like, oh no,
Yeah,
he's never watched a
Oh,
game in his
sports?
life.
Oh my God, sports? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, what if they? What
love
if we
sports,
literally asked
man.
him like his favorite Celtics role player, and like he couldn't think
I
of
could talk about
anybody?
sports all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a
No,
specific
he's probably a big
memory?
fan, but-
What's your favorite memory
he's
of last
watching
year's
this right now.
championship run? He'd be like, well, and that's how I vet like interns. I'm just like, just talk.
He comes off.
Tell me about the
genuinely.
Celtics, and you can tell in like 30 seconds if someone actually watches or has never
Right,
watched a
right.
game. It's 30 seconds,
If he watches our
Where
show,
were you
then,
on June 17th?
then Bill would love to have you on. Just talk. You're a guy. We're just a couple of
This is
couple
like
of
going to be the least welcoming environment after this intro. Everybody else
couple
is
of
singing his
friends
praises.
just
Why would he
talking
choose us?
sports.
He's sitting at home crying. He's watched every Celtics game his entire life. He's like, why don't people love me? Why don't they believe me? Maybe he's the
I wonder
real
if he
deal. We
watches
just
the
don't
Garden
know.
Report.
He's been trying to prove
God,
everybody wrong for
I
years,
hope
and he had
not.
to buy the team in order to just prove it to a few of his
Well,
friends.
hopefully, if he does watch the Garden Report, he skipped this segment.
Yeah.
Listen,
he's a
but that's
Garden
exactly
I'm
Report
not
it.
fan, Jimmy?
accusing him of anything. I'm just saying,
said
come
he
out
feels
from
like
behind the
this career.
screen. Show yourself. It's like
Yeah.
what's that?
Speaking of,
Granted, they're on a
Speaking
road
of-
trip right now, so maybe we'll have a press conference when they get back.
Yeah.
Well, isn't he out
yeah,
west?
we'll
Isn't
see.
he out west? Doesn't he
No,
live
but
out
like they're
west?
not gonna have a press conference when the whole team is like away and
They're
media's
going
there.
to Sacramento.
Isn't he a California
I don't
guy?
know. I have no idea why
He
they're
lives,
not doing
he
it.
lives
He
in
lives in
California.
So he should be at the game tomorrow night.
He's
and
a
if
Silicon
not,
Valley guy. If he's not at the game tomorrow, that's something fishy. He should absolutely be at the game.
He should be at the game tomorrow, 100%.
The
and
sale
he should
has
do,
not been approved yet either, and that could be.
So does that mean he has to
That's too far.
stay unshaven in his parlor?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
he can go out, Bobby.
It definitely means he can't
could
do
go
a
to a
press
game.
conference.
he
So
can't do a
I
press.
think that could
maybe
be the
he can't do
explanation
an
for that.
fish. Okay, that could be fair. That might be true. I'll give you that.
Okay.
So
It's
I'll
still
give them
fishy,
that
yeah.
one. But speaking of Garden Report viewers, tons of people recently saying they're fans of the show, watching, running into in public recently. So I do want to do the
Shout-outs.
John and rattle off some shout outs. Ben up in Maine today,
Shout out Ben.
Kai, as well as my guy, I can't remember his name in security there.
That's
You
why
know who you
that's
are.
why I
Jeez,
text
Bobby.
you guys right away. I'm like, don't let me forget this.
You can't forget the security guy of all people.
He'll know who I'm talking about, but shout out to him.
What about the
And,
Xfinity
yeah.
guy?
Yes, I mentioned him as well. So
Yeah,
shout out to those
I-
guys.
Our producer Bailey Kennedy, by the way, is saying the Wolves done several press conferences with A-Rod and Lore, and they weren't approved. So I don't believe he's restricted
Oh.
here.
I think
Yeah,
it'll
Bobby.
come. Let's not overreact to the fact that
I-
hasn't happened
I-
yet because
Bobby's
we're
already
on the
bending
road.
over
sport.
backwards for this guy.
No, I was just thinking of a reason.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make
I'll
sense.
give you a reason.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it comes at some point.
If it's a month from now and we haven't had one, then we can talk about it.
I got to give a shout out
wait.
to my guy. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, I was gonna let that
Yeah,
one go
Bobby.
because-
Bobby, next
Those
time
aren't
just
shout-outs,
don't give
Bobby.
the shout out.
Yeah.
I was debating. I mean, there
You
could have
know
been
who
no
you- hey, you know
shout
what?
out.
I'll do the same thing. I want to give a shout out.
You
to
guys
the
know
guy.
who you
You know
are.
who you are. You know who you are.
I felt like a shout out was better than none. So
I've
was a
never
tough
given a
decision,
shout out.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
one
you're
day.
popular. You probably get recognized all the time. I've been recognized like 5 times, so I have to tell people, you know? Like
No, but like
Yeah, and
maybe
we
they're
want
sitting at
people to
home
let
being
us
like,
know
why
that
when
for
I
sure.
tell John they shout me out, but when I tell Noah she just doesn't even say anything, you know?
oh yeah. Well,
You
you should
decline
then.
to do
Noah,
shout
I
outs?
mean, if you want to give out
I
a
never
shout out,
considered it.
Is this
Well,
a
why don't-
stance?
why don't you go ahead
No,
and give
I'm
a
just
shout
saying
out?
it's making me rethink the fact that the person that you gave a shout out to is here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Zach.
I'm trying to put it up. Who's
I also
blocking
was
me?
trying.
Not
Sorry,
me.
sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Jesus.
Zach. There he is, Zach. So you did get one name right.
Can the guy who doesn't know but that Bobby doesn't know his name, are you here?
Somebody's just gonna change their one of the
Is that
one of
him?
the chat one of the chat people is just gonna change their name to like security guard guy. That's
It's
what we do.
me, Bobby. What's
I
my
gotta
name?
get better with names.
Thanks for the
It's-
shout out.
It's a real thing.
That guy.
I'm
Bobby,
so
like,
sorry.
like you
Bobby
don't get that,
shoutouts Bobby shoutouts is an easy
You know
one
what, I'm gonna
seed next
start-
year,
he's
right?
acting
I'm
like
gonna
he's
pull
Brad
out-
Pitt and he can't remember like all of these
I'm gonna
people.
pull out
Oh
my
my
Bobby
notepad.
god.
shoutouts would win the tournament if I could put it in right now.
I'm gonna
Put
pull
it
out my
in.
notepad.
There has
and
to be
write it
something
down.
weak that you could sub it in for.
Yeah, well, we got one for next year. Write it down for next year.
I'm gonna start writing these down because it's
I'm gonna
bad.
do a shout out episode where I'm gonna accumulate all my shout outs.
The best part is Bobby did this, like he specifically wanted to do shout outs. It didn't just happen like he stopped like the segment for shout outs.
It's like in memoriam.
I'm
you
like
know, and
talking about
oh,
the
shit,
Celtics
I
owner.
forgot. You do an in memoriam segment and you forget the people's names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Oscars, except none of the names make it up there.
Bobby
I really
shoutouts
feel
for
bad.
the win.
Which one do you buy?
I really do.
Bobby, I hope that like wherever that's secure, I hope you don't need to frequent that building because I don't know how secure you will be moving forward. Put it that way.
Listen, he
My
knows
God.
who he is. He knows I love him, and that's what's most important.
Okay, good.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
That's definitely the most important part.
Go learn his name tomorrow and then give a shout out, a proper shout out on Monday.
You actually
think
have
that's
to
what
go back. Go back to
gonna go
wherever you
back.
guys. Yeah, you have to go
I'm
back.
gonna do it. And
Maybe
do this
he
right.
watches on YouTube and he'll leave a comment when he watches on the rewatch.
Leave a comment, and if not, I'll be down there tomorrow.
Not only did he probably tell you his name, but his name is probably right there on the
I don't want to
shirt.
give
We
out too
should-
much
we
information,
need
Jimmy.
Ahmed, do you have like a hook that we could just pull Bobby off the stage right now because he's dying? We just got to get him out of here.
We need,
Like
yeah,
a
we need
big,
need the
a big
music.
cane. Yeah, play him off the
Oh my
stage. Yeah,
God.
we need the you know.
It's
the-
like playing
the
somebody
Oscar
off the stage
music,
because the speech is too long, but in this case, like there's actually no
No,
information being transmitted.
Noah's gonna come with a list of like 45 shoutouts next show.
Yeah, I feel like Noah's
Ugh.
shout out list could take a while. Imagine
It's but she's gonna
knowing
know like
guys.
every detail about their life. It'll be like Aunt May who makes those delicious
do ask a
apple
lot of
tarts every time I
questions
go to
when I meet
Portland. You know, what's that?
When I meet people, I do learn a lot about them. So
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah. There you go.
That's very kind of you.
Okay.
Make sure you bring that energy next time. Not So look at Bobby's face right now. He's just staring
Bobby's
into the
racking his
abyss.
brain. He's like, what was
I
that?"
knew.
Bobby, for your sake, I gotta end this. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
go. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Back tomorrow, late night Garden Report never sleeps. 10 o'clock game. We will be here with you after the game. I'm always, if I'm awake, I'm on. If not, Bobby and Noah for sure. But I'll definitely be on Wednesday.
Yeah. I'll be
see
on
you
in spirit.
guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me. I'll tell you
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to
Same,
feel that
same
way.
to you.
Let's fight out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We are not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke